right now it feels almost inevitable, a word that I'm generally pretty reluctant to use, that Andy Burnham is going to become Britain's Prime Minister sometime in July.
And this is the scene live in Downing Street, where you can see the press is there in full numbers.
Well, it's about 8:45 on Monday morning, Monday, June the 22nd, 2026. And usually when I'm here in Downing Street at the crack of dawn, it's me, maybe one or two others from a couple of other outlets. Today, it feels like the entirety of the world's journalistic class are here in Downing Street. And the reason for that is simple.
Within the next few hours, things should become a little clearer about the future of the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. Well, Henry is going to be here to guide us through whatever might happen. Morning, Henry. What messages are you getting on your phone this morning?
Well, John, throughout the weekend, I was hearing from all sorts of people at different levels of the Labour Party, right up to pretty senior figures at the top of this government, who believe that the Prime Minister this morning is going to resign. There is a widespread expectation that Sir Keir Starmer is about to resign. Now, we haven't had any formal confirmation of that as it stands, but there's been rampant speculation about it for 24 hours now. And you'd think that if it wasn't the case, Downing Street would have tried to dampen down that speculation. Instead, we've had a fairly junior minister, to be honest, Jackie Smith, the skills minister, out on the broadcast round this morning.
Absolutely clear that what he'll be and what he has been thinking.
What she has said is that the Prime Minister is considering what's in the national interest. But what she hasn't said is Sir Keir Starmer is fighting on. If there's a leadership contest, Sir Keir Starmer will stand. That is what we heard from the Prime Minister on Friday. That defiance appears to have disappeared. Now, I've been here since about 5:30 this morning, when there were still already quite a lot of people here, astonishingly. Sir Keir Starmer is there in Downing Street, waking up to the noise outside of what is his home, at least for now. I think perhaps we might have just gleaned what might be happening, because down there, by the sort of back gate of Downing Street, one of the photographers here says that they've seen the man who sets up the podium, and there have been so many prime ministerial resignations over the past decade that people now recognise this man. I think partly because he's apparently quite handsome. He's arrived to set up, presumably, the podium. He arrived at about 8 o'clock, apparently, so perhaps that means that we can expect some clarity and a statement from Sir Keir Starmer before long. So I'm just about to step over this side of the barrier and update Breakfast TV viewers. First, I'm going to put on some sun cream, and then I'll be back in a bit.
It's all systems go here on Downing Street, Henry, isn't it? I mean, there's a lot of activity, noise volumes rising. It looks like a statement is going to happen shortly.
Yes, it is. The equipment for a lectern moment is being assembled literally right behind us, in fact, as we speak. Outside number 11 Downing Street, where Rachel Reeves is based, these are Sir Keir Starmer's staff. Some of them civil servants, but I think principally political advisors. And they're here to watch him resign. This is a moment of great personal sadness for them, as well as, of course, for the Prime Minister.
Walking up this street 2 years ago was the proudest moment of my life. A new Labour government. Every decision I've taken has been about putting the country I love first. That is why I will resign as leader of the Labour Party. And when I leave the biggest job in the country, I shall spend more time on the most important job, being the best husband I can to my fantastic wife, Vic, who has been a rock by my side through good times and bad, and being the best dad I can to my beautiful children, who are my pride and my joy. Thank you very much.
Well, we've just finished hearing from Sir Keir Starmer. The lectern was just there, really, just a few metres away from me, not even 5 minutes ago. And it was an extraordinary moment. Even though they happen rather a lot these days, a Prime Minister resigning is a very big deal. It's very emotional. You saw that with Keir Starmer, especially when he spoke about his wife Victoria and his 2 teenage children. You could also see the emotion on the faces of the dozens of staff standing in front of 11 Downing Street, where the Chancellor lives, who in some cases have dedicated 6 years of their lives, actually in a handful of cases rather more than that, to making Keir Starmer leader of the Labour Party and Prime Minister and a political success. But you have to say, objectively, what this speech was from Keir Starmer was a massive admission of political failure. Not even 2 years after he won that extraordinary landslide victory, he's announcing his resignation. Look, ultimately we got to a point where Keir Starmer resigning today wasn't at all shocking. But if you think about the fact that it's not even quite 2 years since he won that general election landslide. Well, in that context, it's incredibly shocking. If you'd asked me then, I think if you'd asked most people then, I'd have said Keir Starmer was going to have the kinds of tenure that we used to get used to with prime ministers in this country. 5, 6, 7, 8 years. He wanted a decade of national renewal. He didn't even get 2 years. Well, why is it? Well, there are all sorts of reasons that can be debated about winter fuel payments, about welfare, about his management of his parliamentary party, and so on. But the fundamental fact is this. A majority, perhaps even the vast majority of Labour MPs, believed that under his leadership, the Labour Party was on course to lose the next general election. And what that means for them individually is they were on course to lose their jobs. But I've seen quite a few of these now, but it is an incredibly unusual thing to actually stand here in the street and see the human being that is the Prime Minister just a few metres away announcing his resignation. I was literally crouched on my knees, just here actually, as Sir Keir Starmer came out and made that speech. That's so we ducked down below the camera shot that many people will have seen on TV and elsewhere. Fortunately, I'm a little bit stronger than I remember being when Rishi Sunak did his announcement in 2024. I remember it was much more painful then. Maybe his speech was longer, or I've hit the gym. I'm not quite sure which it is. But it is an extraordinary thing to see, and to actually witness Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister's lip quivering, a moment of raw human emotion. It's a privilege. I love my job at all times, but it is a privilege to see history, and this is history like that, up close.
6 years ago, I inherited a Labour Party that was politically, financially and morally bankrupt.
Early in his speech, he was knocked off his stride a little bit by the music coming from the gates of Downing Street down there, but it was incredibly loud in person. It's a long-standing pro-EU protester called Steve Bray's here rather a lot with his boombox, and that is why he was playing Ode to Joy, which of course is not just from Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, it's the EU national anthem. Some people will remember that Rishi Sunak, when he resigned in 2024, the new Labour anthem, Things Can Only Get Better, was being played by Dee Reen. It's the same person playing the music. That is our vibrant democracy.
Wes Streeting has said he's not going to stand for the Labour leadership. Andy Burnham is the only show in town at the moment.
Well, it's not even quite 3 hours since Keir Starmer stood in Downing Street and announced his resignation, but it feels like the leadership election to succeed him might be over before it's even really begun. Andy Burnham has confirmed the worst kept secret in the history of British politics. As he's on his way down to London to swear in as an MP, he's confirmed he is standing in that leadership election. But more significant than that, the other main rival for the throne, Wes Streeting, who quit as Health Secretary 6 weeks ago, saying he would stand for the Labour leadership, has said he's not standing for the Labour leadership. Instead, he's announced that he is backing Andy Burnham after lengthy conversations over the weekend. It may well be that we get a candidate from the sort of die-hard Starmerite loyalist faction. It may well be that someone on the left of the Labour Party wants to get their ideas out there. But right now, it feels pretty unlikely. Right now, it feels almost inevitable, a word that I'm generally pretty reluctant to use, that Andy Burnham is going to become Britain's Prime Minister sometime in July. Well, when Boris Johnson was turfed out of Downing Street in 2022 by Conservative MPs, he said, "When the herd moves, it moves." Today, boy, has the herd moved. Power has moved, in fact, from Downing Street, where we spent so much of the morning, to Parliament, where I just was witnessing an extraordinary spectacle. First things first, Andy Burnham got on a train, a delayed train, you won't be that surprised to hear, from Manchester into London Euston. He was accompanied by Lucy Powell, the Deputy Leader of the Labour Party. She's clearly going to play a big role in his government if he becomes Prime Minister, and then went to Parliament. He had to complete the formalities of becoming an MP, swore an oath of allegiance on the Bible to the King. The mood in there, it's actually quite hard to put into words. Yes, these were Labour MPs watching somebody who had won a by-election swear in, but it was more than that. It was Labour MPs watching the man that they, almost to a man and woman, believe is going to be their next leader, Britain's next Prime Minister, Andy Burnham. There's another formality that Andy Burnham just completed. When anyone wins a by-election for the Labour Party, they come over to Westminster Hall, the oldest part of the parliamentary estate, and they pose for a photo with fellow Labour MPs. Now, there's nothing unusual in that, but wow, what I just saw Andy Burnham do was not routine. The mood of it was just extraordinary. They were not greeting him as their new parliamentary colleague, they were greeting him as their new parliamentary boss. And some of the personalities who were there, Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, who wasn't there for Keir Starmer's resignation speech this morning, even though it took place outside her front door, was there front and centre for Andy Burnham alongside Johnny Reynolds, the Chief Whip, Nick Thomas-Symonds, a cabinet ally of Keir Starmer, Steve Reid, the Housing Secretary, was fighting to the end to keep Keir Starmer in place. So not only does it feel pretty likely that Andy Burnham will become the Labour leader uncontested, but that compresses the timeline. What Keir Starmer announced this morning was the possibility that he would still be Prime Minister until mid-September, just before Labour's annual conference. That feels not impossible, but unlikely now. It seems much likelier that a new Prime Minister, most likely Andy Burnham, will take office in mid-July.